if we were starting again from scratch, we wouldn't choose Cannes, I don't think. We wouldn't choose this time of the year, and we wouldn't choose this format. Well, we said last year that we were concerned about it, and in fact, I don't think I'm revealing any state secrets. I mean, last year was when this all started. It takes publicists about a year to wake up to what's going on. But when we were on the stage, and the six of us for Ban Ki-moon, Yannick Bolloré said, why don't we, because we were all a little bit antsy about what was going on, why don't we look at trying to set up another festival in a different way? And I think everybody thinks that there's a point in that, and it really started a year ago. When you think about Roger Hatchell, who started this, whenever it was in the 60s, it was probably a celebration of French creativity, and then it morphed into European, and then Anglo-Saxon, American, the rest of the world, and Asia and Latin America and Africa, Middle East and Central and Eastern Europe all participate now. I mean, there was a lovely little note we got this morning from Ukrainians. I'm half Ukrainian technically, and there's somebody from Ukraine last year said Ukraine's never got a lion, and what do you think we should do? So we put together some ideas for them, and this today they sent a little note saying we won our first bronze lion. So all of it is expanded geographically, and it's expanded functionally. We have healthcare, we have data, and one of the reasons why it's so long is because it really starts on Saturday or Sunday. Eric Salama was one of the creative data judges. I think he was the chairman, and he started on Saturday, I think it was. So that's all good, but it's changed from Roger Hatchell's vision of it. Now, the format is very far-reaching. I mean, it has to cover the sort of areas, the traditional areas, the new areas of data and health and PR. It has to cover tech, it has to cover the consultants. I mean, it has to cover a lot of ground, but it's lost sight of the fundamental purpose, which was to celebrate outstanding ideas. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people, myself included, who haven't gone to the Palais to look at the work in some detail. We might see it on awards night, sort of very small clips, but we will not get a full appreciation of the quality of the work. So it's lost sight of its purpose. So again, I come back to, if the most fashionable thing to do at the moment or fashionably effective thing to do at the moment is ZBB, we should do a ZBB on Cannes. Boycotts don't work. I mean, I don't know the reasons why publicists have decided to do it. Arthur Sadoun intimated to me that it was primarily driven by cost. And I think some of the things that publicists have been doing on pricing probably means that they're under more pressure than most in terms of margins and costs in their own business. So it may be that. But there are two big dramatic fallouts from this. The first is, I don't think clients like it. I think clients want to celebrate outstanding ideas. So if you take away that I mean, an amazing number of clients would say to me, if I meet them here or talk to them here, we won this or we won that, or we didn't win enough, or we did win enough, or we won more than we expected or less than we expected. So there is that. So for the client community, it's a motivator. For creative people, and using that term very broadly, not in the narrow Don Draper sense, this is a big motivator too. So to deny them that, I think you're going to cause yourself trouble. So I think, and boycotts didn't work with, look at YouTube. It didn't. I mean, Google, like it or not, is the biggest destination for media investment, basically now, certainly in our case. So boycotting YouTube doesn't make any sense. Working with YouTube to get better control of uncurated content is the best idea. White list of sites, black list of sites. Similarly here, the best thing is, and credit to Essential, whoever it is who's put together this committee to look at Cannes. They acknowledge there's a problem, which is half the battle. Now let's see what we can do in terms of location, content, and approach that will improve it. Picking up your toys and going home, it doesn't make any sense. Our business is about, I mean, what we should be doing is trying to differentiate our offer versus the competition. However you define the competition, whether that's Google and Facebook, whether it's Adobe and Salesforce and Oracle, whether it's Accenture and McKinsey and IBM and whatever it happens to be, in addition to our direct competition. So there are three things that I've seen that are sort of differentiating in the last. The first is the unification or the linking of media and data. So if you take media, it's about 5-6 billion of revenue for us. Data is similar, so call it 10 to 12, 10 to 11. Out of 20 comes from media and data. So fusing those two into a comprehensive offer and story is one thing. The second that we've seen digital agencies going through the digital door of clients, but then taking on the whole budgets, all of the budget. So they might go in, on a digital assignment, but then they spread through digital and above the line, to the extent that one of our agencies, I remember a big piece of business, and the CMO, North American piece of business, CMO rang up the leader of the business, said, "Oh, I see," it's a digital agency. He said, "I see you do digital. Would you do digital for us too?" So he'd been hired as what we used to call agency of record. And the third thing is the rise of the production platforms. And this is really, I think, phenomenal. We've seen very rapid growth of these digital asset, highly technological, high capital investment intensity, digital asset management platforms, which enable clients to pull down assets wherever they are in the world, to try and tailor them where necessary for local market conditions, if you need to do that, but within constraints. Those three things, so media plus data, the digital agencies becoming now sort of full, if you like, full service agencies, and last but not least, the production platforms, digital production platforms. Those are the three big differentiators, I would say, in the last year. Well, yeah, they've all got voice-activated devices. I mean, probably Amazon is the most sophisticated because they've got screen now, but everybody will have a screen, I would say, and then there'll be a question about who wins. I mean, when I went to Warren Buffett's AGM, Bill Gates was talking about this. Each of them, including Microsoft, each of the five, which are the 5 most valuable brands in the world, according to our branding survey, and the 5 most valuable by market cap in the world. Now, all of them have these voice-activated devices. All of them will probably have screens. The battleground for the consumer is going to be with these 5 devices and anything else that comes. I mean, I'm sure Alibaba will do it, or Baidu or Tencent will do it as well. So that's where, for control or influence of the consumer, that's where the battle's going to be. Well, listen, first of all, this is not a diatribe against procurement, far be it from me. I was a CFO, so I do think that being careful on cost is important, but there's a finite limit. Jeremy Bullmore always used to say there's a finite limit on cost, whereas at least until you get to 100% market share, there's no limit to what you can do on the top line. Unfortunately, in a low growth world where there's very little pricing power because there's low inflation, there's a focus on cost, procurement gets a colossal amount of power. And on most pitches, what happens is, you make your qualitative pitch, the marketing department decides, says, I'm willing to work with these 2 agencies or these 3 agencies, and then procurement rolls in to squeeze out. But the point I would make is that we're not even buying media. I mean, certainly buying a creative mind like Ron Howard's, if I can, compare it to that, or indeed Bob Kraft's. That is not like buying sugar. Even media is not like buying sugar. I mean, there is this belief amongst procurement departments that it's like buying strawberries. I mean, I've heard one procurement guy actually say it's like buying strawberries. It was a retail food company. And it isn't. And the variables move. And, I think one of the tragedies about the A&A stuff that came out was that it's sort of suggested, and for which nothing has been found. Nothing. Zero. A lot of innuendo, but absolutely nothing specific has been revealed. It sort of just casts this sort of aspersion, so that the procurement pressure is intense, and I think has got to a degree where it's sort of squeezing the agencies, and the agencies are sort of the meat in the sandwich, and clients are going to be left with less choice. I mean, I would argue that there will not be 6 groups. I mean, I don't know whether 4 is the right number or 3 is the right number. I mean, auditing firms, it's basically 4 big firms. But you know, you pay what you get for, and what the pressure is really intense. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I think, you know, Mark Pritchard, for example, who's now chairman of the ANA, you know, is very concerned, I know, about trust or lack of trust between client and agency. And I think some of the events of the last year or so have not been helpful to that. And we have to change that dynamic. I mean, the other thing is, how can you choose an agency on payment terms, or whether they're prepared to cover unlimited indirect liability, which, by the way, means that if we make a mistake on intellectual property, a mistake is made by somebody we're working with, you know, another supplier, an indirect liability means we're liable for it, on an uncapped basis. So uncapped indirect IP liability, which is scandalous. You can't do that. You know, nobody you know, all my wealth is tied up, most of it in WPP, I hope it isn't the case, but that is a possibility some lunatic somewhere has signed a contract like that. And I mean, the probability of it happening is low, it's true. But the payment terms are the same thing. I mean, it's like being a bank. And the last time I checked, you know, no employee of ours is willing to be paid in 120 days, nor any landlord. And that's 2/3 of our revenues.